Welcome to The Business Fighter with Henry Penix. Henry has been the CEO, founder, and consultant to hundreds of companies worldwide. He retired a multimillionaire, financially independent at the age of 35. Henry grew up a preacher's son and was thrown in jail 3 times for various altercations. He knows what it means to come from nothing and have to fight his way to the top. Henry is the business fighter who will teach you strategic skills for winning in business and in life. Don't just spectate, participate. It's time to get in the ring.
Hey guys, Henry Penix, the business fighter, coming at you with another podcast. Steven Scoggins has chose to get in the ring with me today, and we're going to see kind of where he comes from, what brought him to where he is today. His title on his website is From Homeless to Heartfelt Industry Leader, which I believe. I've just talked a few minutes with him, and he said, you know, we could make this a podcast, what we just talked about. So I love that about you, man. It's like a brother from another mother. You just met, but you feel like you've known for a while. So Steven, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, my pleasure. Sincerely. I've been looking forward to this. Ding, ding. It's on. Let's get in the ring. Let's do it, man.
Exactly. But before we get into what you're doing now, because I know you're doing this amazing school, it's getting ready to start and all of that. I want to tell people about that in just a little bit, but leading up to what got you into this industry, that you really, from a heartfelt standpoint, want to help people, from A-list to the homeless, you know, like you're there to help people. Tell me how that got started and tell me why you've got such a passion to help people.
You know, I think one of the things that most people discover in life is that one of the greatest purposes in life you'll ever have is actually serving the person you used to be. You know,
good. Say that one more time.
The greatest purpose you can ever have in life is serving the person you used to be.
Dude, I am going to use that.
Totally. I'm sure I heard it somewhere. That's why I didn't say a wise man.
No, that's so good. Yeah, no, dude, that is so good. So tell me about that.
In short, I grew up in a kind of a broken home, raised by my single grandmother for a little while till she passed away. Age 11, moved in with my dad, brother with my mom down in Florida. I stayed in North Carolina where I'm from, and went to the construction business, you know, working nights, weekends, and all kinds of stuff, carrying studs and learning how to, you know, by the time I was, 16 or 17, you know, I had learned basically how to build houses with my father. There was this, in fact, actually, this is kind of a cool fun fact. I just did the ancestry.com DNA thing probably 2 or 3 years ago. Right. And when you go down that rabbit trail, first of all, it's really deep, especially if they can actually produce the documents. And here's what I learned. My dad used to have this saying, now he's since changed it now, but he used to have the saying that Scogginses don't get ahead, they get by.
Wow.
And that's like early upbringing days, right? So he'd already kind of adopted that mentality. Why is that important? It's because when I did the research to ancestry.com, for example, and went down that rabbit trail, I discovered that back in the 1600s, my ancestors came from extreme poverty. And by I think it was the late 1700s, the reason the Scoggins are even here on the United States is because my former family, if you will, my ancestors had shot a deer on a lord's land and got sent here as part of a penal colony.
No way. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So my folks came here as indentured servants back in the day to kind of earn off their debt and stuff like that. The reason that's important is because it seems like I've had the distinct honor and pleasure of facing extreme adversity, extreme sacrifice to be on the other side of things. I have been a living illustration of breaking what some would call a family curse or bondage or whatever.
I know. Yeah, I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah. So kind of walking through that, and then part of my struggle or my story is really, it comes down to my very first mentor, who was my father's employer, and I didn't know this at the time, but he pulled me down off a framing crew when I was in my teenage years, and he said, I'm curious. He said, did you know your granddad used to work for me? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Did you know I used to work for your granddad?
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I'm like, well, no, I didn't know that. Yeah. Your granddad was the best. He should have been a millionaire multi times over. I'm like, okay, why are you telling me this? Right. Yeah. He goes, do you know what changed, what the difference is? I'm like, no, I was in his car. I'm still couldn't figure out why is he even telling me the story? And then he said, well, your granddad went to Pearl Harbor, survived Pearl Harbor, came back, a different man, got lost in the bottle, started working real hard. Then his boys came up. Then they went to the bar. Then they went to construction. And your dad's got a good heart, but he learned from your granddad. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm starting to see.
He got lost in the bottle, like drinking.
Got lost in the bottle, yeah.
Oh man.
So we started walking through that a little bit, and he goes, "Let me ask you something. I see something in you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, you do?" Oh,
yeah.
He goes, "What's the difference between a rich man?" I'm a teenager, so I'm a numbskull. And I said, well, duh, money. And dude, I tell you what, if he could have slapped me in the back of my head, I'm sure he would have. Like it was like that kind of like moment with him, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, absolutely not. It's the way they think. And you can choose right now to think like a millionaire. You can choose right now to think like a pauper, but the choice is yours.
Wow.
And he like really laid into me. He goes, people,
he was like an angel to you. Like
he really was, it took a long time for those. Yeah. I mean, it took a long time for those words to kind of like really kind of show up in my life.
Yeah.
So much so that, at junior year of high school, dropped out of high school to help the family pay the bills. Economy kind of tanked. This is back right before Desert Storm or right during Desert Storm kind of time frame. And things just got really wonky really fast. And, I did the best I could for a little while, managed to do pretty well for a while, went out and, worked for some businesses, got my own single wide trailer, man.
Hey, you what, dude. You're styling.
I thought I was rolling, and then, beyond a shadow of a doubt, more events. My father's and former employer gave me a second chance at starting a company out of the trash piles, if anything, of a construction company that he had. And I had been homeless for probably, somewhere between 4 to 6 months, give or take. When you're in that environment, you're not really thinking a whole lot about your days are kind of all running together, so to speak.
Right.
And he gave me a second chance. And that company later became, we're in 3 states, employ about 450 people across the 3 states. And
no way.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it happened. And, I learned that one of the greatest mistakes a business owner can make in business, and this is the one that I made several times over, is not building yourself.
Yeah.
So many times, very talented entrepreneurs, very heartfelt, passion-driven entrepreneurs, they build the business, they forget to build themselves. And as a result, they chase away the team that they need. They chase away the opportunity. Before long, they're wondering, like, what happened? Where did everything go? Like, I don't get it.
Wow.
Not realizing that there's a greater purpose. And then, probably around 2015, my first book came out and did reasonably well for a first book. I was pretty happy with it. And we were walking through that and started speaking publicly on a regular basis and found out that I had a knack for that. And then that was a gift that my creator gave me a little bit. So I started kind of leaning into that a little bit. And then though I went through another adversity. I discovered right before I was supposed to teach for my next 3-day live event that my former leadership team decided they were going to try to take my company from me overnight. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So walking through that, and then, I've learned that true life and real entrepreneurship and things of that nature, there's multiple levels of adversity. There's multiple levels of what I refer to as the crushing. And basically, you can't get to the wine without crushing the grapes. And most of us want to go all the way up to the crushing before we take a step back and kind of look at it. So, that's in a nutshell what the early days are kind of looking like. And then I just decided that Steve gave to me, I deserve to give to the world. So I'm doing my best to try to give it to the one or to the many. It doesn't matter. As long as somebody's willing to listen, I'm willing to help.
Right. Wow. Dude, what an inspirational story. You said so many things. We could have stopped at any point in time and done a whole podcast just on that one thing. But a lot of times we hear things, but we don't listen.
Yeah.
You could have heard that guy say, man, your grandfather, I used to work with him and he was a great guy and blah, blah, blah. And basically read your whole life story there and then gave you the inspiration to move forward. You could have heard that without listening, but you heard that and you listened.
Yeah.
And you let that kind of seep in and you started to ask yourself questions, which if you ask yourself good questions, you answer good questions. But you started asking yourself, why am I this way? And why shouldn't I be doing better? And on and on and on. And dude, that not only changed your life. And I tell people all the time when I'm coaching people, I say, look, if you don't want to do something for yourself, do it for your kids and do it for the generations ahead of you. because a lot of times we'll do things more for people we love than we'll even do for ourselves. But I say, dude, just do it for people ahead of you. And what you said about breaking that curse and breaking that sequence of events that was going to lead you down the same path, dude, you didn't. You put your flag down on the moon and you said, as for me and my house, we're going to serve this way. And I love that, man. That's like, I hope my listeners are listening to this, because that's a gold nugget worth hanging on to.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hard journey, but hindsight being 2020, I would never change. I wouldn't change any of it.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't. I love watching my kids develop into great people. My daughter works in the accounting office in one of my companies. My kids are, off to college now, and I'm able to live a life that I couldn't even fathom when he first told me that. Right. I couldn't even fathom the things that I've been able to do, the people I've been able to help, and things of that nature. I couldn't even fathom it. You might find this interesting. So, I was supposed to do a live event. Obviously, got rescheduled due to our COVID buddy, COVID. But actually, down in your neck of the woods, down in the Florida area.
Oh yeah.
And John Maxwell was going to be there. Peter Lowe was going to be there. Like, this was kind of like the roster, so to speak. And then I was talking to Peter Lowe, and I was like, man, dude, he's like, well, look, I really want you to open the event up. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want me to talk about? He goes, well, what's on your heart? I said, honestly, legacy. He said, ooh, okay. What do you think you'll do? I said, well, we'll call it the 3 laws of legacy. He's like, oh, I like that. And plus John will be here, he's the leadership law guy and, whatever and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, cool. And he goes, why is this so passionate? I said, honestly, I stumbled across an interesting stat, find the stat, because I get questions. Hey, can you show me the link? I got to figure out what the stack is. So I'm going to paraphrase the link. And that is that the top 5% earners. So obviously you got the top 1%, and then you got, several other, 9-figure, 8-figure business owners, and entrepreneurs kind of after that in the top 5%, professional athletes, et cetera.
Right.
Check this out. 85% of them have 8 or more mastery level skills. Okay. 8 or more have mastery level skills. Okay. And those are they've mastered entrepreneurship, and many of them have already mastered investment strategy. Some of them have mastered marriage and therapy. Like, what I'm saying, there's mastery level skills. However, only 21% of them share those skills with somebody else behind them.
Wow.
All of that wisdom, all of that knowledge, all that expertise that could be shared with the world or whatever is not being done. Is not being shared.
Oh my God.
And I tried to break down, and Peter said, man, the reason this is so important is because Steve Myrick changed my life.
Yep.
Like it's not a matter of getting to or wanting to, it's a have to.
Right.
Like, I have to do this.
Right.
I've got to create this level of excellence and this level of giving back. And I feel like every single entrepreneur, every single business owner, every single person who's really going to get in the ring and bust it, so to speak, right? You got to take your punches, but you also got to throw some punches.
Yep.
Right. And every single Rocky Balboa, if you remember the Creed number 2, comes back as comes back as the coach and the teacher.
Yep.
So I think that's one of the things that is probably my biggest takeaway right now in life is I want to be able to leave a legacy that outlives me.
So good. You want to be that guy getting in some other kid's face saying, look, this is who you can be. This is who you can, I think of God way back in some of the first Rockies, Burgess Meredith. I don't remember him, but he, kid, you got to do it. I want you to, he was it. That was who that guy was to you. He was to Rocky. And a lot of times you speak into people's life and watch what you say, because you can speak life or death. It says in the Bible, life or death is in the power of the tongue. Choose life. Yep. And when you speak life into people, that guy was speaking life into you, and you didn't even know it at the time. Yeah. But you heard and you listened and you did something about it. And so, when you talk about legacy, I love to hear that you want to give back. Yeah. You want to leave something that's going to outlive you. But that starts today. When people come to your university, when they listen to your events, when they come here, you're speaking life into them that will live so far beyond you. Everybody's got their own slant on creation. I happen to believe that it was created by a power bigger than us. It was God. I believe in that. They say, don't you believe in the Big Bang? I go, yeah, I do. I said, but I believe more in the guy who pulled the trigger.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why the universe is shaped in a cone, because it was spoken.
Yeah. Well, no. And that's exactly my point. I'm glad you said that, because when he looked out to nothingness and called it something, that's what it was. And we're made co-creators with him. So when we speak into somebody's life, even though it doesn't seem like it's there, and we call it there, it is, and it reverberates. It lives beyond you. It kept going and going and going and going. So I love to hear you talk about that. So I worked with Peter a few years ago.
Oh, cool.
And we actually redid some of his company. And my first professional speaking engagement, I followed Zig Ziglar in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I was so scared because Zig said it all. I couldn't get up there and say anything.
How do you follow Zig, right?
dude, from there to events where we would have 20,000 people in arenas, they would all be standing. And, that's when you speak from stage and you hear your voice hit the back wall and come back at you. Yeah. And that's particularly uncomfortable if you tell a joke and people don't laugh, because you get like double the crap back. like you're expecting a laugh and you don't hear a laugh. And
the boomerang approach.
but I remember telling myself, when I was speaking, following Zig, I was going, Henry, just don't pass out. Just don't like I didn't pass out, but today I can't tell you what I spoke about. I mean, it was like so amazing. But anyway,
that means it was really good.
If exactly. If you see Peter, tell him I said hi, and I've talked to him in probably at least a couple of years, but tell him I said, hey, how can people get more of you? How can people learn more about you, learn about your university, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, thank you. If anyone's looking to kind of go from stuck to unstoppable, meaning you're not making progress and you need to make progress and you want to make progress, there is a methodology about consistently making progress. Yep. I stumbled across a lot of that, obviously, on my own journey. And I find that people just need a roadmap many times to go from one to the other. So if you want to do that, just visit us at journeyprinciples.com/resources. There's all kinds of stuff to kind of check it out, kind of get to know us a you bit. Yeah. And, see if you like what we're sharing and stuff like that. But other than that, man, that's probably the easiest way to stay connected.
Oh, good. Yeah. Date you a little while before you go for the ring.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Which is totally fine with me. I think there's too many folks out there who have, and they're not bad or they're not evil people by any stretch of the means, who are focused on the platform rather than being focused on the impact. And
well said.
Yeah. And trying to get through sometimes can be a little creative. So what I do is I try to offer an open heart, an open mind, and say, hey, look, here's who we are. Here's what we believe. If it resonates with you, come on, we'll help you get started.
Yeah, no, I get that from you. And I interview a lot of people, and obviously touring with Peter and those guys, I've seen so many different people all around the world that you can pretty much tell somebody's heart about the first 2 minutes you're speaking with them. And I can tell you've got a good heart, man. I can tell you. So one of my sayings is I teach not from a book that I've read, but from a life that I've led. And I can tell that about you. It's not from a book that you've read. It's from a life that you've led. It's about hearing, listening. I can tell you've got even a spirituality component that I'm sure you'll get into later. But we're at the end of our time here today. Now, guys, connect with Steven Scoggins the way he told you to connect with him. You're going to love this guy. He is authentic. He is original. He is transparent. And that's what you want to look for in somebody that you're going to listen to. You always want to give it that litmus test. But man, I appreciate you being on the show. I hope this does well for you. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
It's such an honor. I really appreciate the opportunity to even share just a couple minutes. Thank you.